This is the little show that looks at little labels that thought they were huge and were big for a time, but then later on they self-imploded, whether it was by sale or bankruptcy or whatever. This is Labelnova. I'm TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report, and TKR Video Central. Welcome. I'm sorry I'm a week late with this. This took a lot of extra research because I did not expect to find all that I found, and then I had trouble finding a lot of the music. But it's done, and we're ready to talk about it. And I'll tell you something, I had a lot of fun researching this one because this was one of my favorite childhood labels. Everything, and looking back now at what I know, I don't have the slightest idea why. There were a few big hits on the label, and we'll talk them, and we'll hear almost all of them, and a few of the also-rans, like always. We're talking about Big Tree Records. Big Tree Records was founded by music executive Doug Morris in 1970. Doug's still in the business. He's run Atlantic, he's run Sony, he's run a whole bunch of other companies over the years. It was an independent label for its first 4 years, distributed by Ampex Records in 1970 and 71, Bell Records 1972 and 1973, and then in 1974 Morris sold it to Atlantic, and Atlantic would continue to operate it as a subsidiary label for the next 6 years. And Morris, at that time, also moved over to become Atlantic's president. He and Ahmet Erdogan did quite a bit of work. But I'll tell you, if you look at Big Tree's roster, I'll be honest, I have decided to name this label thusly. This label is the 70th 70s label ever. The music is quintessentially 1970s. The acts are quintessentially 1970s. Could some of them do well now? Yeah, they could, but it would not be mainstream pop success. It would be AAA success, or on another format that would be more conducive to their sound. Now, Big Tree released over 300 records, and I was going to pull that up. I'm sorry, let me pull that up here real quick. They released over 300 records in their lifetime, and it was fascinating going through their entire catalog, because the styles of music were, I won't say completely diverse, because they weren't, but they did have a diverse, interesting mix of acts, and I thought that was interesting in itself. Big Tree released 325 singles over the course of its 10-year cycle, with 343 records overall, including oldies, back-to-back oldies titles. But for a label that released that many, they didn't do that well on the chart, although you'd think they did. They had 31 top 40 hits in that 10-year period, which is a pretty good track record. But then again, you look at RSO, who had like 50 in 2 years span, and it's not really that great of a record. Especially when you consider that of those 31 top 40 hits, 20 of them were by one of four, count them, 4 artists, and 18 by just 3 of those artists. Now, there were one-shots off and on, and you'll hear those in the music montage that's coming up, but by far, there were 2 acts that dominated Big Tree in their own independent era. From 1970 to 1975, it was Kent Lavoie, better known as the singer called Lobo. He had a ton of hits, both top 40 and non-top 40 charting hits, and I actually remember more of the non-charting, of the 41 to 100, because our local station played quite a few of them. WCOL in Columbus, where I was living at the time, near Columbus, Ohio, they loved Lobo. They played practically every song he did. He racked up 7 top 40 hits in that period between 1970 and 75. Then he dropped completely off the face of the earth as far as Big Tree went, and he was replaced by the act known as England Dan and John Ford Coley. That's England Dan Seals, brother of Jim Seals of Seals and Crofts, and his partner John Ford Coley. They'd been recording for a while. They actually released their first album for A&M back in 1971, but they didn't click until 1976, as I'd Really Love to See You Tonight, and they dominated from 1976 to 1980. Between the two of them, they are responsible for 13 of their of the 31 hits. Lobo had 7 top 40 hits. England Dan and John Ford Coley had 6 of them. Hot Chocolate from England, who is best described as a cross between disco and ska, I think, had 5 top 40 hits and a few that didn't make the top 40. The only other act to have multiple acts was Brownsville Station. Now, Brownsville Station was not a hugely successful act with the record-buying public, at least not the charts. They had one major hit, Smokin' in the Boys' Room, in late 1973, and they had one other minor hit the top 40. Everything else they released charted, but it didn't make the top 40, and that includes both here at Big Tree, their original label, and later when they signed with Private Stock, which we covered a few shows ago. Brownsville Station lucked out with Smokin' in the Boys' Room. And the sad thing is, all of their songs are these weird kind of story songs. They even went back and, as you hear, they recorded an old, I think it's a bluegrass tune called Redback Spider. I'm like, what the hell were they thinking? So overall, Big Tree's 31 successes come from those 4 acts and 11 others. 1 each. And some of the, well, no, there's a couple of them had 2. David Geddes had 2 hits, and one big and one smaller. But overall, the overall feel of the label was, we've talked about the sensitive male artist, because a lot of these labels were active in the 70s, and sensitive males, the Alan Alda Club members, as my wife would say, were big in the 70s. I mean, we saw that on 20th Century, we saw that on Private Stock, we saw that on practically every label we've done. Big Tree was the king of them. If you sit back and you listen to Lobo, England Dan and John Ford Coley, and a couple of other acts, LeBlanc and Carr, and Lenny LeBlanc as a solo artist, and a couple of other ones, not only are they doing sensitive male music, they're doing almost identical male music. The beats are the same, the instrumentation is the same, only the melody is changing. I never really noticed that until I went back and listened to all this stuff for this show. Because I bought most of Lobo's albums from Adam at Record Crate over the last few years because I love him. I had several of his singles, but I love the guy. And I'm a huge England Dan and John Ford Coley fan. Never realized just how much they really mesh. If you play them back to back, you'd be hard-pressed to think they were different artists. There's a few odds and ends in here that are going to really freak people out, too. One of the other things about Private Stock is a lot of the songs that they did the first couple of years were songs that would later become big hits for other acts on other labels. And unfortunately, I couldn't find any of those. Big Tree has been a pain in the ass to find stuff online. I managed to find all but one of the chart singles. I got all the top 40s and all but one of the 41 through 100 and Bubbling Under. Never missed one before, which is pretty amazing. I scoured the net for the one I couldn't find. I looked at YouTube, I looked at Amazon, I even went to eBay. I could get the album for $120. No, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. So you're going to have to miss that one song. But a lot of the songs that were out from 70 to 72 were songs that would later become hits for other acts, or at least other labels. And some of the songs that were hits for the label would become bigger hits by other people. The first song in the music medley is one of those. But I mean, they did versions of classic stuff too. You're going to hear a familiar voice doing his rendition of an old Faithful song. I'm going to sit right down and write myself a letter when we get to the non-charting stuff. I'm going to do a deep dive on that guy one of these days, because he actually had released stuff from 1970 to 1981 before having a monster hit in 1981, and he hasn't had it since then. You'll know who it is when you see it. But, and if you don't, I'll tell you. I'll probably tell you, because I'll talk about it. I mean, it's just amazing how all of these songs bombed on Big Tree, and yet they would become bigger later. And I'll talk about a few of those if I can when I get there. So let's sit back and listen. I've got about 30 minutes of music for you on the show. Medleys, of course, clips of all 31 top 40 hits, the 41 songs they hit bubbling under or 41 to 100 with. A lot of bubbling under stuff, and a lot of stuff that peaked below 80. It was either in the 40s or in the 80s. There was very few in between. And some of the non-charting stuff. And I'll tell you something. Watching this, listening to these songs, and not being able to find some of the stuff I found that sounded really intriguing to me, I was able to find a few of those. But most of them I couldn't find. That infuriates me, because I want to know the full history. When I was a kid, I remember that wonderful Big Tree logo. It was red and yellow originally, then it was blue and red, and finally they went to that colorful label with the tree and the birds in it, with the mama bird feeding her babies. You'll see all those labels. And you'll see some other labels that Big Tree had picked up distribution rights for in America that didn't come from here. And it's just an amalgam and a pastiche. It's very much private stock. Let's throw it on the wall. Or Playboy, let's throw it on the wall and see if it sticks. In some cases. Some of them did. Some of them were quite big. Although Big Tree can never say they had a #1 single. Their two biggest hits peaked at #2. One by Lobo, one by England Dan and John Ford Coley. Brownsville Station and Hot Chocolate came close, with each having a #3 hit. Other than that, it was an interesting look, and I hope you guys will enjoy this as we sit back and listen to the musical history of Big Tree Records from 1970 to 1980.
Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? Big paradise, put up a parking lot. Bop, 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 bop. Ooh, pop, 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 pop. They took all the trees.
Me and you and a dog named Boo, traveling and a living off the land. Me and you and a dog named Boo, how I love being a free man.
I am W-O-O-O, and I'm still up here again.
It's those white lies in her blue eyes. Goodbye is on the way. White lies in her blue eyes. Evil's the game she plays. Those who ever let her get to you are the good little lady. They all need you to make love to. When you awake, find them on the bed lying beside you. Baby, I love you to want me the way that I want you, the way that it should be. Baby, you love me to want you the way that I want to. I love you too much to ever start liking you, so let's just let the story kinda end. I love you too much to ever start liking you, so don't expect me to be your friend.
trying to find what was wrong. Sure took a long, long time. We can talk of tomorrow. I'll tell her of things that I want to do. But girl, how can I tell her about you?
Gonna meet the boys on floor number 2. Smoking in the boys' room. Smoking in the boys' room. Now, teacher, don't you feel me? Up with your rules. Or everybody knows that smoking ain't allowed in school.
Well, I'm just waiting out my time, standing at the end of the line. I got a lot of love and I'm saving inside for you. Yeah, I'm just waiting out my time, standing at the end of the line.
Wow, thing.
You make my heart.
Wow, thing.
You make everything groovy.
Wow, thing.
Wild thing, I think I love you.
We're the kings of the party. We're the baddest people alive. We're the kings of the party. Come on and slip it by. We're the kings of the party. 'Cause we're the baddest people alive. Wow.
Ooh, I get the feeling. Ooh, it feels good. Yeah, I get the feeling. Couldn't get to sleep in my room last night. Something wasn't quite the same.
A face like an angel, she could be anything. Emmeline, Emmeline, I'm gonna write your name high on that silver screen. Emmeline, Emmeline, I'm gonna make you the biggest star this world has ever seen.
Don't tell me goodnight. It makes me feel so empty inside. And if only I could, I wouldn't sleep at all. Don't tell me goodnight. Just let me drift off slowly away and dream.
Yeah, yeah, music is a lover. Disco queen. Music turns her on and on. Music is a lover. Music turns her on and on. Disco queen. You don't need no kind of useless information.
I've never seen him act this way. My God, he's going crazy. He says he's gonna make you pay for what we've done. He's got a gun, so run, Joey, run, Joey, run.
Daddy, please don't. It wasn't his fault. He means so much to me.
I believe in miracles. Where you from? You sexy thing, you. I believe in miracles. Since you came along, you sexy thing.
But the blind man in the bleachers knows he will. It's the last game of the season on a Friday night at home. And no one knows the reason why the blind man didn't come. And his boy looks kind of nervous, sometimes turns around and stares.
Love like this before. There's a warm wind blowing, the stars around, and I'd really love to see you tonight. We could go walking through Windy Park. I didn't know it would be so strong, waiting and wondering about you. I didn't know it would last so long. Nights are forever without you.
And I became just like her, so don't be surprised to find that the angel in your arms this morning is gonna be the devil in someone else's arms tonight. Yes, the angel in your arms this morning.
That it's sad to belong to someone else when the right one comes along. Yes, it's sad to belong to someone else when the right one comes along. Oh, I wake up in the night and I reach beside me, hoping you will be there. And you slow dancing, swaying to the music, slow dancing, just me and my girl. Slow dancing, swaying to the music, no one else in the whole wide world. So you win again, you win again, here I stand again. Illusion, and just for fun, took my love and run. Love had just begun. I can't refuse her, and now I know that I'm the fool who won your love. When there's no one else around, and I'm falling, oh, I'm falling in love with you. Look what I've done, gone too far, I don't know how I did it. Gone too far and I hate to admit it, but I spend all my time thinking of you. Gone too far, there's nothing I can do now. Gone too far, it'll work out somehow. Lying here waiting and wishing I knew when. We'll never have to say goodbye again. We'll never have to say goodbye again. Light up the world, shine on me. Love is the answer.
blood dregs and sickness still, without a rustic spoon. Now come on people, live with me, where the light has never shone, and the hornets flock like hummingbirds.
South Africa, beautiful land, out of the sun, cold of the night, you're mine. When the sun Savannah, I can look out.
There was a redback on the toilet seat when I was there last night. I didn't see him in the dark, but boy, I felt his bite. Now I'm here in hospital, sad and sorry plight, and I cursed the redback spite on the toilet seat that night. Redback spite!
Gillian Frank's the name, I live by the gun. Run and hide my life, I follow the sun. 3 or 4, not many more were at the funeral.
You gotta let your yeah be yeah, and you know be no. You gotta let your yeah be yeah, and you know be no. Because I'm on my guard, I'm watching you from head to toe.
Remember when you were a kid? Well, part of you still is, and that's why you remember. Flying kites and muddy shoes, Easter eggs with speckles. For the love we made today, it was just a foolish way to try to bring back yesterday. There ain't no way. Yeah, the love we made today, it was just a foolish way. Things
He knows I'm not feeling well, and yet he doesn't take 1 second out to help his mother. His only concern is for himself.
Come on, Ma. What do you want from me?
Don't argue with your mother. Just shut up and listen.
Once you understand, things get a little easier.
But Mom, all my friends will be there.
I said no. You can't go.
But why?
I'm the leader, I'm the leader, I'm the leader of the gang. I am. I'm the leader, I'm the leader, I'm the one who put the bang again. I can take you, I'm in a kite every single night.
Ring, ring, telephone ring. Somebody says, baby, what you doing? I've been wondering where you've been. Now and then, I think about you and me.
Maybe there was something kind of special between you and me. Thanks for the smiles. Thanks for the smiles. You're a sunshine lady. We had a lot of fun, the time went fast. You and I didn't want a thing to last.
You tell me lies, you should be honest to me. I'm so much in love with you, baby, till I don't wanna see. Yeah, the things you do and say, you know that they're designed to make me. If that's what it takes, but then that's what I'll do.
Folks come out to play. Dear prudence, greet the brand new day.
So make a stand for your man, honey. Try to can the can. Put your man in the can, honey. Get him while you can. Can the can. Can the can. If you can.
Without your love, I know that I'd be nothing.
And without you, I know I'd surely die.
Hello?
Hello, sweetheart. Is that wife of yours around?
A giant of a creature, all covered with hair, as tall as a timber and strong as a bear. Y'all better not go walking out there with Bigfoot. Bigfoot's coming, gonna get you, gonna get you. Bigfoot's coming, so you better watch out. Lock your doors and bolt your windows. Bigfoot's on the prowl. Bigfoot's coming.
Hey, hound dog man, my old friend, play it again. I can still hear that girl scream. You know it felt so good to me. We still look for someone. Little girl, I was born, 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 born. Be with you. Yeah. Wondrously.
Let's rock, let's roll, let's animate the soul. Let's put it in a glass and it puts it glass. Let's rock and roll. Let's boogie down, let's boogie up. Up down, lady.
'Cause I just can't say no to you. Though I know it'd be better off blue. But my heart won't admit that it's true. And I just can't say no to you. There's something about you, baby, that keeps me
Sally, Sally, now look at me. Tom, Sally, Sally's all we need. Oh, Sally, Sally, please belong to me. I'm just an ordinary guy.
Are you going my way? Would you like to come along? Are you thinking my thoughts? Can't you hear my song? It's a long way coming down. The ladder's in your eye. For a Wednesday in your garden, I think that I would die. Hey you, yeah you better move on. Hey you, yeah you better move on. Well, I'm packed up my bag and I'm lit out, just heading down toward the sun.
Yeah, I'm working my way back to you, babe. And the happiness that died, I let her get away. And every day, when you were so in love with me, I played around like I was free.
There comes a time in everybody's life when a moment of truth is at hand. And for me, that moment is right now. If you've had it,
I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a letter and make believe it came from you. I'm gonna write words oh so sweet, they're gonna knock me off of my feet. A lot of kisses on the bottom, I'll be glad I got 'em. I'm gonna smile and say I hope you're feeling better.
Running scared. Running scared. I gotta get on the move. I gotta make some tracks of my own. I gotta get on the road, yeah, before I'm going too old.
take my freedom away. Once I had my share of losing, once they locked me on a chain.
Sister Jane, don't let the sun go down on me. Don't wanna wake you, save me from falling down. Sister Jane, you changed my way of life on fire. Sister Jane, you left me all.
King of the Cops. You know, McLeod, that's terrific. Terrific. My wife loves your program. Listen, I'll tell you something. All of these cops have too many hunches. Except that Cannon, he has too many lunches. They can't fool me, they're all just dreamers.
Well, nobody takes you to the cleaners.
Hold on, McLeod. You're a clown. You pull out your gun, your pants fall down. In fact, you're all Dumbos, Columbos, king of the cops.
was just after I'd dropped my bird off home, walking quietly down the main street of Western Australia. As I was walking along, talking to the koala bears and the kangaroos and wallabies on the side of the road, I just happened to look up in the sky. And up in the sky I saw a light. And the light hit me. No, I mean it really hit me.
Skylab, falling right out of the sky.
As I was trying to work out where...
I gotta find that last one. I've never heard that, and I want to hear that. I remember walking, Kim does too, we both remember walking around looking up in the sky, afraid Skylab was going to fall on us in 1970. There are a lot of good songs here, especially the ones that hit the top 40. A lot of them are timeless classics. You Sexy Thing by Hot Chocolate. Lobo, particularly, I don't want to be your friend, is that the name of it? And Being You and a Dog Named Boo. England and John Ford Coley's I'd Really Love to See You Tonight and Nights Are Forever Without You. Brownsville Station, Smoking in the Boys' Room. David Geddes and Run Joey Run. And Last Game of the Season, which was a bigger hit for a different artist on the country chart, but it was a pretty big pop hit. And, you know, nestled in between, there was some other stuff, and I remember some of the ones that were 41 to 100. Not just Lobo, but all of the England and John Ford Coley, except that last one. Which, by the way, that last song, In It for Love, was the final record released by Big Tree. It and the Skylab song were released at the same time, and they were the final two singles from the label in 1980. Or 79. 79? 79. So maybe that one was early. The Skylab before England Dan, because that came out in 1980. So, a lot of great artists here. And some of them would do better later. But nobody, and I mean, I've made fun of certain acts. I would never make fun of this guy because he is such a journeyman performer. And he's so well known. You know the voice when you hear it because he's had a hit record in 1981. And he's done countless TV themes and countless commercials and such since then. Most people associate Joey Scarborough with, believe it or not, the theme from The Greatest American Hero, which became a #2 smash in the summer of 1981. But Joey was recording from 1970 forward. He recorded for Bell. He recorded for Big Tree. He recorded for Columbia. He recorded for a whole bunch of different artists and labels. Often working with Mike Post, who ironically was responsible for his best-known TV themes like Greatest American Hero. He also did the theme from Hardcastle and McCormick called Drive. And he was also instrumental in the Flash Beagle music from the Peanuts special of the same name. Scarborough never had the luck he should have had. I have always loved it. In fact, on the Kirkham report, he hit the top 3 with his Columbia release, Turn the Light On, from 1979. That was before I even knew who he was from Greatest American Hero. It was 2 years before that. And I loved him from the second I heard him. And he also does a killer cover of the Partridge Family classic, Point Me in the Direction of Albuquerque, which is really hard to find. It was on one of the other labels we've already done, and I couldn't find it online, so I couldn't pull it. But Joey is an amazing performer, and I want to do a deep dive into his earlier career because people think he was an overnight success, and he wasn't. He'd been session singing and recording for years before having that big hit. A lot of acts associated with Big Tree are the same way. Let me pull up my listing here. Of course, there was, as I said, some of those songs that were hits here or were released here that became bigger. The Neighborhood's version of Big Yellow Taxi, which did hit the chart, did hit the top 40, but was a bigger hit for Melanie. And of course, everybody knows Joni Mitchell wrote it. And then later on in the 90s, Counting Crows and Amy Grant both had versions out that were hits. The first version, one of the ones I couldn't find, was the first version of Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, which I'm trying to find it here. The band was called Anaconda, I think. I'm trying to find it on the list here. Yeah, Anaconda. I don't know whether Rick Derringer was part of that group or not, but I would say he at least produced them. And I would have been interested in hearing that, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I was amazed that one of the singles, I had totally forgotten about the tie-in album, The Sugar Bears, which is, of course, it is related to the cereal, which at the time was Super Sugar Crisp, not Super Golden Crisp like it is now. And I'd still like to know why, when they did Sugar Bear in the commercials, why they made him sound like Bing Crosby. I've never understood that. I mean, there was some great stuff, and I didn't even know that charted, so that did better than a lot of the stuff that came out like that in the 1970s. But there's so many acts that I couldn't find, and what I did find by some of them were, like, what? Jillian Frank by Jerry Hudson, which is on the 41 to 100, was picked up by Big Tree. It had actually become a big hit in Buffalo on the label that you saw on the screen, and they picked it up, and it didn't do that well nationally. I think it said it peaked at 116 nationally, but obviously it did have a following. Big Tree also had a couple of what were known as regional hits, which they didn't do a lot after 1972, but Billboard did have 2 songs that they did early on classed as regional hits, which were, if you look them up in Joel Whitburn's book, they will appear as breakout hits, and those are a region hit that didn't go national in a big way. One of them was a song by the Dorians called Help for My Waiting. I did find that, but I didn't include it because I couldn't find the other one. It was big in, I believe it was the Pittsburgh market, and it got a noting in the Joel Whitburn, Top Hot 100 book. The other one was a song by Alex Bevan called Linda's Song, which was a hit in Cleveland. It was a breakout hit in Cleveland, but they never did chart nationally, which is what you can say for a lot of these acts. I also never realized that April Wine had had a chart hit in America. Now, I'd known who they were. I knew they were around. A friend of mine was a big fan of some of their late 70s stuff, but I didn't know who they were really until they broke with Just Between You and Me, which I think was 81 or 82 when they were on Capitol. I didn't know they were releasing stuff as far back as 1970. So that, and that they'd actually charted before Just Between You and Me, and that surprised me. They actually had 2 chart hits, one top 40, one under 40. It's just easily some of the most interesting stuff I've ever looked at. I enjoy doing these deep dives, and Big Tree really made me see some stuff. Like, there's some stuff I still haven't heard by David Geddes. I have some of the Big Tree albums. I got them as promos when I was in 7th or 8th grade. I joined this mail order thing called Ears. It was a remainders club, basically. I joined it through Stereo Review magazine, and for $5 a month they'd send you 3 albums, and you would tell them what you thought of them and send them the little thing back. I got 3 of them, I think, before Mom said we're not paying for these anymore. But I got Wild Thing by Fancy that way. I got David Geddes' album, Run Joey Run, that way. And I got a few other ones from Arista Records also, the movies, and Gino Cuneo and a few others. And the Jaggers also from Kama Sutra. All came in those packages, and I loved those. I loved going through them. I loved checking them out and listening to them. And I like David Geddes' album. He only did the one album. He did Blind Man in the Bleachers is not included on that last game of the season. Not included on the album, neither is Stephanie, which I do not know and I haven't heard. Although I think I might know what it was. The other thing that's interesting is Big Tree was also the home of the, and this goes back to David Geddes, the Maudlin Story song. And the purveyor of that was producer Paul Vance, who we lost last year. He was in his mid-80s, and he was a great songwriter and producer who specialized in these kind of songs. He did Playground in My Mind for Clint Holmes back in the 1972 or 73, which was a monster hit. Then he did Run Joey Run and the last game of the season, Blind Man in the Bleachers for David Geddes. He did a couple of the other songs that were between 40 and 100. The Mr. Jordan song was one of his. Paul wrote maudlin story songs. They were great. Run Joey Run was one of my favorite songs in the late summer and early fall of 1975. Everybody loved that song. It was awesome. But they were maudlin. And, I mean, they were even more maudlin than some of the stuff Barry Manilow had done. And he's done some pretty maudlin stuff on his albums. And the Big Tree managed to make several of those hits. And that's really something because, you know, I mean, people like those beginning with the Dead Teenager songs in the early 60s, like Teen Angel and Leader of the Pack and all those. It was, you know, you always enjoy the maudlin story song, I guess. Harry Chapin was good at it too, but he usually had a little twist in them somewhere that didn't make them quite as maudlin as some of those. So that's the musical history of Big Tree and what I could find of it. I mean, there's so much more to it. And, I mean, I was really pissed because I couldn't find more music. And I had trouble getting everything ready, so I'm a week late with this, and even a few hours late on Friday, because I didn't have time to do this part of the show, because I was mixing all night last night. But I had so much fun with this one. And, I mean, it was a pain in the ass. But these songs, these are part of my childhood, particularly Lobo and England Dan and John Ford Coley and David Geddes. And, you know, these were huge hits with me when I was a kid. I loved them, and I still do. Big Tree will always have a soft spot in my heart. And hopefully I've jogged your memory about some of their hits as well. And maybe some of mine, because I didn't remember a lot of these songs. I didn't even remember all the top 40 songs, which I usually remember most of them. But I only have vague memories of 2 of the Hot Chocolate songs. Of course, everybody knows You Sexy Thing. But I don't remember our local station playing Emma at all. And I would have been in Washington at that time. And the other one, So You Win Again, I remember hearing once or twice, but I don't remember it always playing. I remember You Sexy Thing and Going Through the Motions, which was released on Infinity later. Those are the 2 I remember most. They were great, and I loved every second of it. And in a couple weeks, we'll be back to do another one. I'll tell you which one in a minute. But for right now, if you haven't subscribed already, please do it. If you have, thank you. I really appreciate it. Please share out this to other label fans and who like to look at the history of labels, such as it is. I can't do a in-depth history, but I do my best. And please leave a comment. I love hearing from you, particularly if you've heard some of the songs that some people may not have ever heard on each label. I enjoy reading those. I get such a kick out of them. I'm not doing a poll for the next show. In 2 weeks, I will be here doing the short but colorful history of Boardwalk Records, Neil Bogart's follow-up to Casablanca. It was around for just 3 years, but they had some huge hits, and they had some huge mistakes. And we will talk about those in 2 weeks. Next week in this time slot, you'll be seeing Kim Takes On with her latest show. And, well, in the regular time slot, hopefully, not in this time slot, because this is late. And there will be something new connected to Labelnova premiering next week, and I will give you news on that on the community page, and also probably with a video announcement on the TKR Video Central. But I've found a source where I can do something special with these shows, and I hope you'll go over and check them out when I get them done. And hopefully I'm going to have them done next week, so we'll see. In any case, I really appreciate you coming by. And as always, if you're a label fan, let me know what labels you'd like to hear. You can email me. You can drop me an Instagram message. You can do all kinds of things. There's all the info is at the in the show notes as to where you can get in touch. You can also ask for it in the comments, and we'll see what we can do. Next up, though, the history of Boardwalk Records. That's coming up in 2 weeks. Until then, for Labelnova, I'm TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report, and TKR Video Central. I hope you have a wonderful week. Ciao, baby.